DFS Prodigy coming to you live with Daily Finish Talk Show, breaking down the men's Olympic golf tournament. It starts on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. It does not start on Thursday like regular golf tournaments, but this is the Olympics. This is going to be the big stage. We already have a couple of withdrawals, like with John Rahm, which we saw. So this is going to be interesting to see who else drops out with COVID, because we definitely need to keep an eye on that coming into Wednesday, because it's only Sunday. But overall, man, how's it going for you? How are you feeling about this Olympics?
Man, the Olympics, obviously, this is the first time we've really, covered the Olympics. So,
yeah,
interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the motivation in some players. I know Rory's already voiced his opinion on playing for the Olympics. So, it's going to be different. Interesting to see the motivations there and see if these guys actually really care about the event. And just in terms of, current form right now, I know a lot of it's going to weigh on that for me, because this course hasn't been played since like the 2010 Asian Amateur Open, where Hideki won by 5 shots. So I'm already guessing Hideki's going to be super, super popular just because he's played the course before. But remember that was 11 years ago, and it probably doesn't mean jack squat.
Exactly. So basically what tonight we're going to go over is just the course preview, kind of who we're looking at on DK and who we're looking at from a betting perspective, just to kind of get a general overview of what we're going to be kind of looking at, because this tournament does start on Wednesday, so it's kind of pushing a day for us back. But I've been hitting heavy with basketball lately, so I'm kind of letting you take over this golf video. But I have looked into the course. But what do you think of this course, man, just from what you see?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of info on it just yet, but from what I've seen, I know the Korean caddy's been talking about it, doing a little documenting from, I think, caddy.com or something like that. I saw it on Twitter, and from what he said is the course is really nice. It should be a decent birdie fest, but what's interesting is the par fives. He said the par fives are playing right around 600 plus yards, which means you're going to have to either hit it really far or have really good wedge shots on your third shot to be able to put it within, putting distance. So it's going to be an interesting week just to see, between the course fit and the motivation, who comes out on top, because we could literally have someone win this event, who we don't even know, like a 6K guy from Chile or something. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm definitely interested to, dig deeper into the field, but just from the preview, I'm ready to dig into this.
Exactly. What I've seen so far is that it's a very exclusive course. Not a lot of people play on it. That it costs about $20,000 in our money in order to get into the tournament. So, again, this is kind of an exclusive tournament in Tokyo that not a lot of people play on, and that it's pretty much the high tier, high class people that go on this course. So, it's the East course in Tokyo. We don't know a lot about it, but what I've seen also, it's a bit of the rough course, that it's very exclusive. And that the field looks really good here overall, meaning that we don't have a bad field tournament. Like, we have Justin Thomas, we have Xander, Morikawa, we have high tier guys on this field. So, in my opinion, this is going to be exclusive as it gets. I think this is going to be a great tournament. This is the first time for us that we're breaking down an Olympic slate. So, I'm kind of excited about this beginning for us. But just kind of looking at the DK field, you have up top, obviously, the champion, Colin Morikawa. How do you feel about him, my man?
Yeah, Morikawa's he's just so good with their irons. He's so good with his irons, and obviously, me and Hunter talked about it last week. We both got burned because there was a certain article that came out that said Colin Morikawa didn't feel comfortable with his irons, so we're like, oh, we're not gonna play him. And then apparently he figured it out, and there was no follow-up article and all that, so that's great. But yeah, I mean, he's the best iron player in the world. Hits it straight off the tee, puts himself in a good position. Certainly worthy of the top spot. What else can you say? He's just insane.
Exactly.
So he's probably my favorite option up top for sure.
Exactly. Which, if we see the replacements, we have now Patrick Reed, who is filling in basically as Captain America. So
yeah,
at Tim 1, I definitely like him. Obviously, I think the motivation is there for him, like we were talking about. You don't like him?
Patrick Reed, recent form has just not been there. He missed the cut at the Open, and then barely made the cut at the 3M Open last week. So I think his recent form is just scary. Now, in the Olympics, it's a bit different because, he's known as the big game hunter, but then missed the
Exactly.
cut championship. So motivation, I think, is going to be there for him. So I think it makes him, playable. But at the same time, his recent form's just not been great. I think even at the 3M, I don't know, what did he get? Like a T46 or 32, something like that. So nothing, excuse me, that blew me away. I just don't like his price early on, but as I said, I haven't done too much research yet. So obviously, as the week goes, we'll have to see if I end up warming on him. But right now, he's ice cold for me.
Exactly. And there's a lot of guys that are in the 7K that I do like. Do you like anybody up top in the high tier guys, or are you just kind of sticking to the mid range with the 8s and 7Ks?
Well, I haven't done too much scanning of the salaries, and I don't have them in front of me, but I do know there are a couple guys that stick out to me, especially in that 7K range that you just mentioned. Johnny Vegas, he's at 7'4", and he's been in great recent form, complete opposite of Patrick Reed, so I really like him. His ball striking's been great, and I think we're going to need that certainly here. And then my guy, Mito Pereira. Pereira has been,
Love him.
and he's been so good. T5 at the Barbasol, and everyone was like, "Oh, that was just a sucky field." Well, try again. He got a T6 this week, so he's a guy who I had locked into my lineups this week. And ended up saving my butt. So I'm probably going to be playing a lot of those two guys in the value spot. In terms of mid tier, it's tough because I was really going around stars and scrubs before Bryson and Rom went out, because I literally just wanted to grab Morikawa, Bryson, and Rom, and then grab three guys that sucked. But now obviously one of those guys is left, so now I have to do a bit more research into sort of lineup building. But this is going to be a deep field. I know Sepp Straka is interesting. He's at like 6'7", I think, 6'6", something like that. He's certainly a birdie maker that when he gets hot, he can play. The motivation will be there because he's playing for his small country. So kind of trying to bring them up to the top. And then, of course, you got the biggest motivation of them all between Sung J.M. and Siwoo Kim. Holy moly, do they have a lot on the line this year. If they don't get a medal, they ain't playing on the PGA Tour probably for another 3 years. So huge motivation for them as they got their military obligation to do if they don't make it. So, those are guys that I'll be looking at for motivation purposes, certainly.
I also like Cameron Smith at 3,300 odds to win. I'm definitely looking at him. I think that he fits the scores extremely well, and I think the odds are just too small for him. I think he needs to get here after round one, simply to put it.
Yeah, I mean,
odds on him or no?
I like the odds. I don't think I'll be playing him in DFS just because his driver scares me. He's kind of a guy that, if he's hot, he's hot. So I think he's definitely a good betting option. Just because if he comes, it doesn't matter if he comes T2, T10, he's going to win. And I think if he's hot, he can certainly do that. Just for a DFS perspective, though, he could certainly, fall out of it immediately. And at least as a bet, it's not going to hurt you as bad. So I don't mind him.
What do you think? What do you think of Peters, who did well in the Olympics at Rio?
Yeah, Peters is interesting. I like him at his price.
8,000.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just like Johnny Vegas and Pereira more. And I think in terms of if I'm getting those two guys in, I can spend a little more than 8K. So I think he's just going to be a guy in that range where I don't mind him, but I'm probably not getting to him personally.
I feel you. So overall, though, I think that this course that we're really going to have to look at bombers, like we were saying, and definitely guys with drivers. What attributes do you think these guys need here at this course, given that they don't have a lot of experience here?
Yeah, so like we were talking about before the show, there's really not a lot of key stat things that we can use here. So I really like to go back to ball striking. The putter is a very it's a tool that can be hot one week and off one week. Volatile is the word I was looking for there. So to base your research off of something like putting, it's just not very smart because, you could have a guy who puts, consistently well for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden loses 5 strokes. Ball striking, off the shots gained off the tee and shots gained on approach is going to be the 2 most important, because those are the sticky stats, right? So if you're gaining 3 shots off the tee, you're probably going to gain, 1.5 to 4.5 off the tee next time, because just that the rhythm of your swing is just there, right? And if you're consistently losing off the tee, you're not gonna, you might have 1 week where you magically find it, but most of the time you're gonna be losing. So guys that are gaining on approach and guys that are gaining off the tee is my ball striking, category is certainly where I'm looking. And then guys that are grinders, guys, like the one that comes to my head, he's not in the Olympics, so don't play him, but Brian Harman, guys,
Yeah.
guys that just hang around, and I think those are going to be the 2 kind of types of guys that we can play with this week, for this kind of event where we don't really know much about it.
Which, like we were saying, there's 4 par 3s, there's 11 par 4s, and then 3 par 5s. Good Lord, the 3 par 5s is where it's going to be at, with going 640 yards, 586 yards, and then 632 yards. Give me a little insight on the viewers who don't really know what this means with the par 5s.
Yeah, par 5s is where you want your golfers to pick up shots, right? So that's why you want them to get the eagles and the birdies, because it's easiest to get, for a PGA Tour Pro, it's a lot easier to get there in 4 shots, rather than a par 3 where you have to stick it to 10 feet and put it in. On a par 3 is going to be a lot different. So those par 5s, are kind of my favorite scoring opportunity holes. Guys that score 6s, that's not so great. But the guys that can consistently, give themselves birdie opportunities to these par 5s, that's where you're gonna, get that extra shot up and, keep you in the cut line, or, get you into contention. And, the par 5s that are playing at, like you said, 640 yards, you're gonna want to get them there. Short hitters are not going to do it. You're going to need someone who at least puts it 300 yards off the tee and then hits like a 250-yard approach shot, at least to make it. Or the other alternative to that is they have a really good wedge shot from like 115 yards and they can put it to 5 feet. But most of the time, you're going to want to have a guy that can get to the green, so that way, even if they 2-putt, still a birdie.
Exactly. So what we're looking at, like I said, we're really defining the bombers and really stay consistent. I think that there's a lot of guys here do have experience at this course, so this is going to be really interesting to see how the golfers react. Being here in the so on and so forth, the motivation. Thoughts, man, before we get out of here about this course?
No, man, I think we hit all the nails we needed to hit. I mean, we don't know a lot about it, so we don't want to keep talking, about stuff we don't know. We just want to hit the points that we know, to help you guys out and start building your lineups. And then we're going to do I'm going to do a picks video, or we're going to do a picks video sometime later this week, if our schedules work out, once we've done some more research. But just based off of first looks, this is kind of what we're thinking. And, feel free to drop us questions. And as we do more research, we'll definitely hit all of those as we go.
Exactly, man. So be sure to hit that like button for me. Definitely subscribe. Come hang out with us in the Discord where we talk about basically this course and kind of figure out the more points. We're obviously going to update y'all with who's dropping out because of COVID, because there could be more that drop out. I would not be surprised if a couple more dropped out somehow. So again, this is only Sunday. The course starts on Wednesday, so I'm assuming there's going to be more. But like I said, guys, go follow him on Twitter, Daily Fantasy Talk Show. Come hang out with us, and this pretty much wraps up the video for us, guys. Again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope everybody has a good and safe rest of their night. Have a good one, everybody.